Alright everyone, we start off today talking about how Rondesantis has just failed his first major litmus test if he intends to be a viable competitor for Donald Trump in the Republican primary process now. We'll get two things out of the way first. First, Trump fans are dogpiling Rondesantis for the wrong reason here, and saying, well, how dare Rondesantis effectively backhand Donald Trump. Dude, all's fair in a presumptive primary battle, and let's be entirely fucking honest, number one, Donald Trump can take it, and number two, he did fire the first few shots at Ron DeSantis, who has so far not even officially entered the race. So, on that, I don't really care that Ron DeSantis decided to backhand Trump, because during his, link in the description, watch it for yourself, it's a video clip of Ron DeSantis addressing the issue. Ron DeSantis, number one, it's belated, his response to this. As the governor of Florida, he probably should have weighed in earlier, like pretty much everyone else in politics. It became conspicuous, so it's strategically poor. This is why I'm criticizing him. The way in which DeSantis went about this was simply strategically wrong. As far as him insulting Trump by saying, well, I don't know how any of this works with regards to payments to prostitutes, okay, yeah, he's insulting Trump and insinuating his guilt, but that's not a good look, but it's not outside of the realm of dirty politics, which Trump engages into. So on that token, I actually deviate with other Trump fans in saying I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is the non-committal politician speak with which he conducts himself in his response here. That's number one. Very non-committal. It seems weak. It's not very direct. That's number one. And number two, again, the backhand is fine, but you very belatedly decided to actually speak on the issue. You've had several days, and you waited that time until pretty much everyone else had weighed in, and then decided to proceed with your response. Now, we've got a lot of new news today with regards to the kooky wackadoodleism of Blue Anon. They're still puffing and puffing about the Trump indictment case. All hell is broken loose, though. We're not exactly sure if they're even going forward with anything today. Supposedly, there's yet another witness scheduled for Wednesday now. But don't worry, Blue Anon. 2 more weeks, or maybe 3, or a month. Everything will be perfectly fine. We'll talk about that separately. Here's the problem, specifically for Ron DeSantis. Again, it's not that there's any offense in backhanding your presumptive opponent, although that's what a lot of MAGA voters are fixated on right now. Ignore that. They're going to insult one another. DeSantis and Trump have been trading barbs now for some time. I realize that this is in a different realm, and we'll get into why that's important. That part doesn't mean anything. What do I mean by a different realm? We're talking about a situation where 200 years of political precedents might be broken over a crime that is generally considered to be a misdemeanor. Where the statute of limitations may already have technically run out. A crime that the DOJ already investigated, found nothing particular there to go by, and neglected to file any charges against Trump prior. That was last year. Alvin Bragg is nuts. He doesn't really have a case. They can go ahead and force Trump to appear and get a mug shot taken and stuff like that and put him through a kangaroo court. In the end, I don't even think that a jury convened in Manhattan is likely to find him guilty of the particular charge. Also, another warning to people who support Trump on this issue or in general. He's not being gone after for paying hush money. He's being gone after for business fraud over misclassifying said hush money as a legal expense. Now, the other day, one of Michael Cohen's former advisors actually testified, and it was in favor of Trump. It's a witness for the possible defense, a debater against the concept that this was hush money. I have a feeling they're not going to be able to show that that particular payment had anything to do with Daniels because of so many payments being made to Michael Cohen. $130,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to what Trump has, and so for him to make that style, that size of payment, for you or me, it may be a lot of money. For most of you anyway. I know there are a couple of subscribers out there that are apparently filthy rich. It may be a lot to us. It's nothing to Donald Trump. He can make that in a few hours. If he does another NFT line, apparently he can make it in about 10 seconds. So it's not exactly a sweating to the tune of $130,000. Again, though, even if they show that the payment was indeed for hush money, even if they have proof of that, and I don't think that they're going to hit that threshold, there's still batshit to go forward with the case. Ron DeSantis is batshit for first and foremost looking indecisive and weak by waiting several days to address the issue at all. He waited until people started complaining very visibly. Secondly, by backhanding Trump again. On the more lucid side of politics, I tend to be more analytic. I'm not a partisan. I'm not taken in by any cult-like mentality. I see it for what it really is. Ron DeSantis is toying with Trump and getting a few giggles out of the crowd by insinuating, yeah, he fucked this porn star years ago. It's amusing. It's just political bullshit. It's a below-the-belt hit. Trump does it all the time, so he's not going to be a hypocrite and complain about it too much. Although he did fire back in due form, and you'll probably see a back and forth there as well. My problem is when I analyze it further and I say, what does the average core MAGA consider this? They consider it a below-the-belt hit, and it's situational because, again, this has to do with a criminal proceeding potentially. This doesn't have to do with some normal blue anon conspiracy theory where they say, 2 more weeks, Trump peed on a Russian hooker or something like that. There's no case involved. Any investigation is topical, like with J6. The committee itself cannot bring someone forth in chains and fingerprint them and take their mugshot and shit like that. It's not a criminal proceeding, it's an investigation. This is a criminal investigation. It rises to a level that is different from what we have seen them attempt with Trump so far. And Ron DeSantis seemed flippant about it, which is going to piss off a lot of the people that he needs to vote for him to have any chance in general at this point. If DeSantis goes down this road much further, he probably should come out and apologize, say, well, in retrospect, it wasn't the right time for a political joke. Donald knows that I was joking and stuff. Obviously, I have a problem with the Manhattan case. It's overstretched and bullshit, basically. He could do that and maybe get away with it. If he continues going down that line, the problem is this. You could end up with a situation, let's say Ron DeSantis does become the nominee, where he has no chance of winning in the general election because he's pissed off something like 30% of the partisan voter base. They may write in Trump. They may stay home. They may coalesce around a non-Ron candidate. They might protest vote for Mickey Mouse or something like that. You could see a third party rise up into the double-digit range. But they wouldn't be voting for DeSantis because they've been alienated. It's kind of the same thing pertinent to this case. Again, normal political jabbing at one another in any other context, it's not a problem. DeSantis should come out and insult Trump. Trump should come out and insult DeSantis, assuming that DeSantis gets in the race. Maybe this is evidence he doesn't intend to because it's politically disastrous what he's currently doing. That's fine. When it's pertinent to a significant criminal proceeding in which we all know there's effectively a concocted conspiracy by people that are desperate and terrified of Donald Trump, and you decide to wade into those waters when you have simply been asked a question about the Manhattan DA's case, and you choose to make it political at that particular time, it's not going to look good. You might be able to win the primaries. Let's say he does. I don't think Ron DeSantis would be able to win the general election. By the way, I would also post a warning to all of the core DeSantis fans. You do realize that without the core MAGA voters that are really, really lock, stock, and barrel on board with Trump, you cannot win a general election because there are not enough voters. DeSantis wouldn't come anywhere near the threshold needed. You could end up with a clean sweep for the Dems, actually. I like how a lot of people are saying, well, if Trump gets indicted, it makes it impossible for him to win. And we don't understand why there are MAGAs who are saying so. I think that being criminally indicted, even if you were dragged off in handcuffs yelling at the crowd to protest or something, that would be less politically disastrous, beyond the primary at least, in the general, than what DeSantis is doing here with a lackluster response. He should have done better. He failed his first major litmus test. Again, if he intends to be viable going forward, he needs a supermajority of MAGA behind him. I'm willing to vote for Ron DeSantis, assuming that Trump loses a fair primary. If Trump is sitting in a jail cell or having to spend a year battling a frivolous minor charge in a courtroom, that doesn't look very fair to me, now does it? At that point, DeSantis should condemn the proceedings and stand down, but we'll see whether his ego allows him to do that. Again, we're not even sure that there's going to be any form of indictment. It looks completely spurious to me, would presumptively be overturned at some appeal anyway. They're just trying to damage Donald now. They're probably rushing it out against their will simply because of the statute of limitations issue. Again, we're not exactly sure about the ramifications of that. So looking at this, the insult itself in a vacuum is fine. It's perfectly fine. It's just political theater. It's expected. The timing of that attack, number one, and the belatedness and kind of feckleness with which it was delivered, the non-committal lawyer-speak sort of mumbo-jumbo that DeSantis showed us, is not befitting, I think, what the average populist voter wants, and you have to have them on board in order to win in the general election. So it puts Ron DeSantis on some shaky ground. That's about all. Peace out.